you want to save yourself from huge tax fines and penalties? Do you want to know the tax strategies that can help you increase your profits and, of course, cash flow? Do you want to learn from an industry expert? I'm very, very excited today on our LinkedIn Live Smart Tax Strategies, how to protect your business from costly penalties. Today, I have a very, very special guest from the US, and she will share her 20 plus years experience and expertise on, of course, accounting and taxation. If you don't know me yet, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wandalin Tan Kalupig. This is my 83rd LinkedIn Live. And for the past few weeks, I go live weekly because I want to add value, help businesses understand, how they can grow their business on a different level. And today we're talking about taxation. And of course, we want to understand and acknowledge every person who's watching us live or on replay. For those of you who's watching us live, please comment and tell us where you're joining from. We would love to hear from you. Mention your names. Of course, we want to hear from you as well. If you do have questions, please, while it's free, you can ask me and Margo anything. Taxation is so close to my heart because maybe a lot of people know I'm on LinkedIn, but before being active on LinkedIn, when I started my career as a CPA, I was a tax analyst at Ernst& Young, and I also managed the individual and corporate taxation of Intel Philippines. I also am teaching taxation and entrepreneurship to business owners in the Philippines in partnership with the Department of Trade and Industry. But today, it's not about what I know, but more about what our guests will bring because I'm very, very excited. The hard truth, what I learned, there are two things which are very certain in life: death and taxation. And when I speak to business owners, they will cry and say, Wanda, we just want to do business. We didn't understand that we need to understand taxation too. And in one of my LinkedIn Lives last year, one of my guests, who's an international tax practitioner, shared about tips and tools already about taxation. Because in the US and the Philippines, in many, many countries, taxation has been there for a very, very long time. But in the Middle East, it's been maybe here for 3 to 5 years only. So this is something very, very new and very, very relevant today. Because if you do have a business that you're starting, or whether you're in business for a very, very long time, taxation is a very important component that you need to understand, because failure to understand that can lead to massive fines and penalties. In one of my LinkedIn Live, I remember I also discussed about why did Uber got 100 million Saudi tax bill, right? They got this fine and penalties. That was in 2021. I am not aware whether it's resolved already. I hope it is. But today, let me introduce my guest. Let me just bring my guest today is Margo and Masri. She is a multi-award winning accounting firm. She owns, and of course is the founder of Heartfelt CFO and Tax Services, offering highly customized financial services specifically designed to take your business to the next level and beyond. Utilizing cutting-edge accounting techniques and drawing on her 20 plus years of industry-specific experience, Margo is your trusted partner for enhanced business growth, increased automation and efficiency, and a truly class-leading customer experience. And she has many awards. Let me mention a few. She is one of the top 100 financial influencers by the Top 100 magazine, top 3 best bookkeepers in New York, and of course, she is known as the Tax of Business Growth Strategist and CFO of the Year. So without further ado, let me bring my guest. Let's welcome Margo. Thank you. I'm very, very excited. I need to calm myself down. I'm very excited. This topic is so, so important. But I think before I go to the first question, it was so much intriguing for me why your name is, the name of your company is Heartfelt CFO Tax Services. Maybe you can tell a bit of story first. How did you get that name?
Absolutely. First off, I am so happy to be here and share this information. Thank you for having me, to you and the team. The ladies are incredible, and I want to make sure everybody, I can go on and on and on, but this was so much fun preparing, and I really am excited to share the value. Um, so Heartfelt CFO and Tax Services came about for a few different reasons. When I started my career 20 years ago, I had my son, and life was life was hard for me because I thought life was all around money and tax. That's how I was
Mm,
built. That's how I was taught, and that's what I saw. And when I entered into the career, additionally, what I just kept seeing was around all of the low level emotions, I call them anger, frustration, all of these things around it. And people operated from more of a reactionary standpoint. And
mm.
I wanted to create a balance for people to really not think about that and operate more from a growth and have the information they need. So I only operate from my heart, and I feel like how you do one thing is how you do another. And that's where I was like, this is the name for the company. You know, some people may think it's a little funny, but it's how I operate from the heart. And it takes away the sales component because that's not what I'm about. I'm about more of giving you the value so you could be free from money and tax, which I am like crazy excited to share today.
So that's good sharing. I learned how you do anything is really how you do everything, right? I believe in that fully. That's why it's a heartfelt CFO service. I think in outsourcing or in any service for that matter, I always look for people who do it from the heart because that becomes a different level of experience altogether. And I just want to understand that story point, but at least that validates. Oh, that's why that's the name of your company. Now let's go straight to the most difficult question because I know a lot of people have problems with taxation, right? Maybe you can share with us what are in your 20 plus years of experience, what are the three common finance and tax mistakes that most businesses, entrepreneurs, and founders make, and how can they overcome that? Because what I learned when I was managing taxation in the Philippines, once you get that tax bill, which is sometimes millions, that can lead to the closure or bankruptcy of your business, or if you have so much penalty, that could also mean that the government can close you down anytime. So maybe you can share. I know there's so many. Let's talk about top three today. If there's so much time, we're gonna cover so much more also.
Like you said, there's so many, and I found myself like cutting out and, crossing out. I was like, which one are the most important? And I want to start with the one around planning ahead. The mistakes that I see all the time over and over is that people want to wing it, they come last minute, and then they have this expectation around outsourcing that it can just solve all the problems and these blanket statements around it without the concept of really on the time of planning ahead. So to overcome planning ahead, it's looking to connect to what you can do as a business owner who's spending the money and looking to grow your business, what can you do on your end when you're spending the money to keep the paperwork, make it organized, or organize the best way that you see so that working and complementing with a professional can go so much more together. The other one is reconciling and having a month end close. Now, not only is planning ahead important, but having a way to close your month to really know what happened in the month is important because or else those mistakes, they just carry through to the next month and the next month. Now, it may not resolve, but at least we have information that's accurate to work from. And you now have stuff to continue to progress and to process over the next few months or so, or however much it could happen. And sometimes we just need to make a decision to close those items and move on because it depends on how important those items are. To close that in terms of these tips, profits are not cash flow. Just because you made a profit doesn't mean that's the true cash flow of business. And understanding the difference between what you're profiting, what your actually cash flow is important. Where you're going to gain that is having your month end reports done and reconciling your bank account and having all of that. A lot of people have different definitions around reconciliations. I'm just going to throw that in there. Ideally, in an accounting software, that you can have your difference between a bank balance and a book balance so that you know what's in progress and what actually happened. So, with those 3 tips, those are actionable, ready to go, and just start with one and then go in the order of how I shared it, planning ahead and letting yourself meet yourself where you're at. There's so much to gain by that process.
Thank you, Margo. I think the first thing you said is about planning. And, I think there's a saying that says if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Right? I know a lot of businesses do delay in terms of complying with whatever is required from a taxation perspective because they thought it's just a month end thing or it's something that's a yearly reporting. But as you rightly said, people really need to plan, plan everything. I think even from reporting perspective, who's gonna do this and that, when how are you going to do the work, the registrations. There's so many things because I know, like, if you only miss a day or two in terms of filing, that will mean penalties as well, right? And I think you also mentioned about reconciling. A lot of people, a lot of business owners I met, they're like, Wanda, I have this much of sale, but I don't know where my money is.
I hear that like over and over and over. Like I made so much money, but it's gone. I don't know where it went. And exactly to how you said it, having the month end close is really, really important as you get to see where it went. You get to know if you feel like you spent the money in good use and without judging your time, judging yourself when I say that, because the only way to improve on the spending and on where it goes is to look at it and meet yourself where you're at to grow.
Hmm.
I'm actually going to say a quick story.
Yeah, please.
A client of mine, she was like, "You keep telling me to spend money, Margo." And I said to her, um, "I'm telling you to spend money in the way that complements your goals, that is
Hmm.
aligning with your goals. Running to spend $100 on lunch or buying a $5 water bottle instead of filling up your water bottle before you go. It's a different way of operating and thinking every day of how
Hmm.
you spend your money. So when you sit down of this month end close, now some of the bigger businesses, I do suggest doing it weekly or bi-monthly. It depends upon, but at least starting with something. So with this
Hmm.
process, even if you put 10 minutes a day, it will go so far to get you in a better place financially. Like all of these muscles, like you would go to the gym, it's flexing a financial muscle and getting, I don't even have muscles, but getting stronger and stronger and stronger across all of these habits and, behaviors.
I agree with you. I mean, I think from a business standpoint, it's good to develop the small habits to record your expenses, be mindful about your spending because that is really the problem. I mean, you have this much of sale, you don't know where the money is because you are not recording anything. You thought, oh, it's just at the end of the month, at the end of the week. But you rightly said there, you only need 10 minutes at least every day to just sit down and where did my money go today? And also, Margo, one business problem I saw, people are so confused. Is this a business expense or is this a personal expense? Right?
Mm,
So, what's
right.
your thought about that?
It's a great question because to a degree, there's a belief out there that taxes can solve everything around business, that it's just an
Hmm.
expense, it's just an expense. I would say, as a quick tip, if there's a direct benefit that it helped enhance the business growth, that would be a business expense.
Hmm.
Because we put our clothes in the cleaners, that becomes more controversial. But the more typical stuff around, you know, marketing expenses, hiring vendors
Mm.
to help you, or if you put people on payroll, if you buy office supplies, people squeeze out extra things here and there. However, how I always say is take the system for what it is and don't look to squeeze more, because
Mm.
wherever you're squeezing more, that it just comes in a different way in business, that it just comes back and it's not worth it. So this is going to sound a little corny, but going back to why I chose the name, when you have a natural way of operating, it just all
Mm.
flows. So my natural way of operating is just from the system. It's from the heart. And it's really just telling you how it is. No fluff, no sales, no, no scams. When you just follow the system, you also get to benefit in the bigger way in terms of in the future. You have Social Security, Medicare, all of these things where the system is built to support you. So if you try to beat the system, you can't look to get the complement of what the system is built to help you. So that bridge of personal and business, like all day and every day, I can have that, especially in an onboard with a client or in the stages of the discovery. And I would say is that that's the realization of a technique of
Mm.
separating business from personal, of really saying to yourself what your personal expense is and just getting to a true alignment with yourself.
I love that. I agree with you. It's all about alignment. And I'll say it will be very easy to know whether it's a business or personal expense. If you say if this will help the business, this is a business expense. But the next question that I think you need to ask is this tax deductible? Because maybe a lot of businesses also think that, oh, this is a business expense, this can be deductible, but again, there are different set of tax rules, which is deductible, not deductible, and that is where services like yours are very important, because it becomes to that level of technicality, right? Which is deductible, which is not, up to how much, up to when. I mean, it's so complex to that matter, this taxation, right, Margo?
Absolutely. So usually when people want it to be business expense
Mm.
and deductible, there's something there around money that's
Mm.
bothering that person, that they're not okay spending it. So just to
Oh.
break this a little bit of, just to break this down from a few steps from a coaching standpoint, if you're angry about that expense, it doesn't matter if it's deductible or not, because the
Hmm.
system is the system. If there's a
Sure.
direct benefit of your business, that it helped your business grow, chances are it's going to be a business expense. But if you
Hmm.
find something that you're really trying to push into the business and it's probably not, it's probably like the cleaners, or a shop around Bloomingdale's or Gap or whatever we're up to these days. Um, so I would say to get honest with yourself on how that spending came about, because all those little creeps, it ends up being sucked into that category of
Hmm.
deductible or not. And it's
Yeah.
actually a business. Like, oh, Margo, it helped me because of da 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 plus more. It doesn't matter. If there's a
Hmm.
direct benefit, it's like clear cut. That's where I
Sure.
go back into follow the system. There's way more to gain than
Hmm.
possibly 2,000 a year, 5,000 a year, whatever that is, to actually benefit of more expenses. So you have profit, you made money, you
Hmm.
learn the system, and then you learn strategies that we're going to talk about soon. There's a lot to benefit there, and also use as leverage. So when you have growth, it's all going to build on each other. Don't skip the
Definitely.
steps. Don't skip the steps. Let the steps happen, because I could tell you, I've taken people from 9 figures, from all the way to 5 figures, 4 figures, wherever they are. And what makes people fall from nine
Hmm.
figures down is when they skip the steps. And a business owner, let's just call it what it is, around 9 figures, whether it's real estate development or actual services of tangible, like quantity of like selling retail or any of those things, the most disheartening thing is to watch them when they have to go down in terms of their processes when they're already up there in income. So they climb the ladder because we're worried about money, 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 money. And it's like what I was telling you before. It's that
Hmm.
it's that unclarity around that money, that really of the fear that starts to creep in. But what makes people go down is skipping steps. And
Exactly.
you could still have a healthy business without having an 8 or a 9 or a 7-figure business, whatever it is. You don't have to have such a big business to make good money. It's all into literally the foundations where I shared the planning, the month end, and knowing your profits versus the cash
Hmm.
flow.
That's good. So, Margo, you shared about these mistakes of planning, reconciling, knowing your numbers. Are there any mistakes that you think, business owners, entrepreneurs need to be aware? And because also what I learned, Margo, a lot of people think that if they give all the responsibility to an outsourced person or to their staff, everything is perfect. I mean, a lot of people I met who's managing the business don't know finance. So there's a big gap there. Then when everything goes wrong, they're just blaming one person. What are your thoughts about that in terms of how can you make sure that your business is protected and you really understand when something is going wrong? How can they make sense of that?
Honestly, having a professional that understands money and tax is really the best thing that you can do. Having a true agreement with the person on what they're actually going to provide and you're going to get. So just because you hire somebody and it could be one of their lower level services that
Hmm.
and then you expect more, which I'll actually tell you a story
Uh-huh.
to complement this. A client of mine, she's in one of our more elementary programs. And the elementary program is basically what I was sharing in terms of the foundations, a month end close. It doesn't incorporate tax strategies. It's I think it's like one call a month or two calls a month. I don't remember what it was, but it's not really around developmental growth. It's not around tax strategies. However, it's really clear in our agreement, but she
Hmm.
came with the expectation of so much more
Hmm.
of a program that we do offer, but it's not the program that she signed up for. So
Hmm.
if you're looking to understand the numbers and avoid these mistakes, it could be that the fee is more that you're comfortable with. It could be that you think it's a lot of money, but the mistakes and the place and the journey that they get you to is far more than you can go alone, which I'm actually going to tell you a story of around a different client of ours that will bring this together. So one of our mental health clients, she does eating disorders. She also had this passion around Kundalini yoga and some other
Hmm.
areas around therapy. And what happened was is that when she encompassed all of this
Mm-hmm.
together when we did a business plan, there was so much more. Now, in a lot of ways, paying the fee for her was a lot,
Yeah.
but what she gained from that value of the time, she was able to 10x her investment by spending the quality time, which goes into the foundation. It's planning
Hmm.
ahead. You're not look at the fee. Let's talk about this way. Look at the fee. You're paying for the person's experience, leveraging how their experience over time can get there faster without going
Hmm.
in the dirt and getting you to the garden. That's the way to think about the fees. Not that you should pay anything. Like if you truly can't, you can't. But coming to terms with investing into it and investing into yourself and your business, consider it like an education for college in a different way.
Yes, Margo, I agree with you. A lot of people think that, oh, when I get a consultant, when I get the, outsource this and that, it's a cost to the business. I'll just do it myself. But they get surprised when this tax bill comes. They get these fines and penalties without them understanding that when you get, as you rightly said, when you get the right help from the right people, from the experts, then they will save tons of money and they can grow their business to another level, which actually brings me to the next question. Now, we spoke about these problems and mistakes that most entrepreneurs have, right? In terms of planning, reconciling, not knowing their profits. Maybe, Margo, you can share what are the smart strategies now to make sure that businesses can leverage on to make sure that they optimize, cash flow, and while complying with these taxation regulations of any country for that matter.
I love this question because tax strategies to implement, people think it's almost like scamming the system.
It's not. It's not.
Right. I had a client, just to tell you that, and I'm glad you said that. And I gave her her strategies, and it was going to save her like 150,000. And she really thought I was she really thought to a degree I was teaching her to scam the system. And what I did was, because again, I truly believe what I'm doing, I gave her the letter to the tax law, and she was like, "Oh my Lord." Like, just when you have information leaves the next steps. And why not leverage the system? So there's this old belief around just paying. So the first structure that I want to talk about is having the right entity. Now,
Mm,
when you open up your business, what you thought your business was going to do, in actuality, it might change.
yeah.
Now, as important as it is to choose the entity, it's important, which it goes back into, you're going to see how this all comes together in
Mm,
terms of the common mistakes at the foundation of the planning. So that whatever you need to do around the entity, that you incorporate that little bit of time around the entity, which is kind of like a meeting with yourself, or assuming you have some type of tax person to help you, um, to really understand and to do the actions. Now, some of the actions can seem silly, but
mm,
it's important. You can be like, I'm in the middle of a launch and all of these different things, but do your launch, but have this on the calendar too. That's what I'm going to
mm,
say. Because you can make the more money, but if you don't keep it, the gross income doesn't matter. It goes back into a 9-figure business. They plummet. They plummet because
mm,
they don't have this. The next one I want to talk about is employee benefits. There's a lot that
mm,
you can do to leverage a team. And what's important about this is that hiring the right team and growing your team is important for a few different reasons. They feel good about themselves, that they come to work better that way, to show up, and they feel grateful. They feel appreciated. You're also advancing if you use education and health, how they show up and advancing. So instead of looking to the outside world for a way to grow your team, a higher
mm,
leverage person or more seasoned person, actually, you could have a relationship with somebody in your business already and give them the tools. So I'll tell you a
mm,
story about this. I have one of my real estate developers. He really liked this guy. And
mhm,
he was like, I just wish this guy can do A through Z plus, truly. He
mhm,
kept going on and on. And he was like, Margo, I feel like da like it just, if only. And I was like, why don't we help him around his medical expenses, because it was creating a lot of stress to his family. And why don't we give him that tool for the education? And he's like, at first, to spend the money is that feeling that people have around money. And if you have it, it's totally okay. But almost laugh at yourself when it happens, because you're just knowing who you are, which is all perfect. But
mm,
instead of it going to a higher way, just be like, I can't believe I get angry about spending money on my own team that can look at my business growth and help me in a different way. So, leveraging your team and giving them benefits is so profound, and it will go a long way.
hmm.
The last one, which is really near and dear to my heart, is hiring your children. Now,
Oh.
I think it's not only important to be a business owner, but it's also important to set an example for your children and incorporate it into them. I know when
Hmm.
I started in the business world, I was not from a family of businesses, and everything I was doing was strange. I'm a woman.
Hmm.
I didn't go out for the typical field.
Hmm.
So all of these things that I was up against. So with my children, I wanted to, because in a lot of ways I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I've leveraged this career to work for me. Now, not only do you get the benefit from a tax perspective, but now you're building the next generation with your kids to have
That's right.
opportunity.
Hmm.
So I'll tell you a live story for me. My daughter now currently works for my office, and she puts in her time. And some of the things she would like, why am I doing this? It doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. And I love her questions because they're so innocent. And then when I explain it to her, it starts to sink in. And it's also giving her the skills. So things that took me God knows how much money, time, all of this stuff, if I'm giving it to her, what better gift can that be? So you're getting the tax benefit, you're building
Mm.
your children, and now you're leveraging them for the future. Now, not only with that is, so I actually want to tell another story. So with hiring your kids with my older one, now he had this amazing skill around computers. I just
Mm.
happened to have clients who needed his skill.
Mm.
So all these little things that I was teaching him, it ended up starting a way for him to start his own business now.
Wow.
So you never know where that's going to go. And what better gift to hire your kids? Now, some of you may be like, I don't have kids of age. That's okay. But you can still choose the right entity, growing your
Mm.
team. You can also, just in case some of these don't apply, I'm actually going to just bonus in a fourth one. Sorry, Coach Wanda. Just in case these don't work for you, is the importance of getting to a salary, of you
Mm.
being a W-2 employee to your own business and having a salary, not doing payroll yourself, but actually having a provider, a payroll processor to
Mhm.
actually process it through the system so that you have the taxes paid and you don't have to worry about estimates. You're benefiting by being on the W-2 within your own business.
That's good. That's good. Let me summarize that. I love the tips that you gave. So, for those of you just join us live or watching us on replay, we are talking about smart tax strategies, how to protect your business from costly penalties. And Margo is an expert for 20 plus years. She shared about the smart tax strategies. Number one, you talk about the right business registration. I agree with you. Sometimes when you registered your business, it grow on another level. What you're doing now is different from how you registered it. So it's good to have an understanding of what's the right business registration. And I think, I mean, for some countries, there's sole proprietorship, there's business, there's corporate, and each of these different type of entities have different kinds of taxation, deductions, etc. That's why it's critical to understand that. I think second, you spoke about employee benefits. When taxation came here in Dubai, there were so many postings about, they need to hire additional people for taxation. But I agree with you. Why not educate, right, and upskill your people so they can understand taxation? I mean, taxation is new here, but for us Filipinos, we know it for a very long time. This is not new and it's very simple. So I will say I agree with you. When you do have people already in your team, why not upskill them, upgrade, help them educate themselves. And the best thing about giving these additional skill sets, they will stay with you, right? Because they know you invested in their growth and learning. So that's really a
Right.
very good tip, right?
Sorry, just to throw
Yeah,
in,
yeah,
sorry,
yes, yes, Marco.
this will save huge payroll mistakes and huge penalty, not penalty, huge increase in payroll by
Hmm,
investing into your own team for the long haul.
yeah. Thank you
Avoiding the
for.
turnover. That's the word. Sorry, that was the
Yeah,
word. Turnover.
thank you for clarifying that. And I agree with you. I think this is very important. And the most and my favorite tip that you gave is hire your children. Because I agree with you. I think some of the business owners I met, their children don't want to inherit the business because they did not involve them from the beginning. And I think it's a very good tip to hire children for many reasons. Number one, you get to teach them real life, right? That no school will teach them. That's one. Second, as you rightly said in your example, your child was able to start a business just because one of your clients need that service where he's good at. So that's a very good match already in terms of complementing their skill sets, right? And I think one of the things that I really love what you're saying about hiring your children is, they really get to learn early, and that expense that you give them money becomes deductible for your business too. And I was smiling because the video that we played in the beginning, My daughter made that today, and I was telling her, she made that. Well, we didn't have that yesterday, and I was like, I think I want to have some video, and I know children now, they have so much creativity and gifts that
Yeah.
can be useful for a business, right? So I normally just tell her, do this for me, I'll pay you by the hour. But I think, I was always telling her, this thing that you're doing for me, it's a skill that someday can help you, right? And it just takes so much time for them to understand. But hearing from people like you, whose success story about your children having the business already based on, just working with you, that's really a great, great tip.
You're
Thank you for
giving them the
sharing.
chance.
Mm,
Think about the chance, the door and the journey that it opened them, that they believe in themselves. Because the confidence at that age, I can tell you as speaking from a mom, it
mm.
takes time.
I,
They have the social pressure. I know for me too, even like as an adult, social pressures and wanting to please people, get along, and all of these different things. So now you just save them from all of that tribulations and errors that you experience, and you get to make their life better. So it's a different form of a client, and it's so
mm.
close to home that you gave them that door. And honestly, I can tell you, it came back so much better that I was like, wow.
That's good. I'm very inspired by this story. I'm gonna tell my daughter to keep on working. Thank you, Margo. Now, Margo, I'm very impressed by your awards. Maybe, a lot of entrepreneurs, they want to be at the top, they want to get known. Maybe you can tell us some tips. How were you recognized? What's your success secret in terms of business? How did you get this top 3 best bookkeeper in New York award, top financial influencer by Top 100 magazine? I mean, a lot of businesses I know want a kind of level of success that you have now. Maybe you can share some tips of how they can succeed in business too.
It's staying true to what you believe in. It's really that simple. When it gets hard, don't give up, take a break. And
Hmm.
I'm actually going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
So, when I first started speaking,
Hmm.
um, I had a very profound opportunity. It was my second speaking that really took a leverage. Now, my first one was around 10, 12 people, and my second one was 700 people.
Wow.
And I was in front of an opportunity that I was like, wow. And I was very intimidated by the real estate community because that's a big part of my services. And I was intimidated by like the men, the overpoweringness, and as a woman of my physique and just character of what really was going to work.
Hmm.
So I was like, a lot of these women would show up with cleavage and show up with these like short dresses. And I was like, that's not me. I'm religious, I'm Jewish. And to a degree, I'm like, there's got to be a way. So even though it was hard, I sat with the hard and worked through the hard. My tip,
Hmm.
work through the hard.
Hmm.
And the top strategist award that came from that community came from the accumulation of all those years and really just servicing the community. If anything,
Hmm.
I turned down that award twice before because I was like, I don't know if that really will change how people see me, that from more of of unapproachable to in a different way. And I wanted to keep who I am. Like, so the top 118 and the 100 flew into her, it was really doing the right thing. And it was really
Hmm.
the impact of the accumulation of things that I feel like through the community that people saw me and that they really brought me into it, that it just came my way. I wasn't searching for any of these. There's actually a few out there now that I was really thinking about. I take it to heart because it goes into the name and how I built everything is that I want
Hmm.
people to think I'm approachable. Just because I'm in business 20 years, I'm still human. I can still have a setback. I can still be tired. Like, so all of these awards, it became true to me of being true to the purpose of what I
Hmm.
stand for. And then everything just came and worked for me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Margo. I agree with you. Maybe I'll share a bit of story about myself. I think I
Mm.
agree when you say stay true to yourself, believe, take a break if you need to. And when I started this LinkedIn live event, I was like, I just want to add value. I just want to share what I know. I didn't know what will happen. I just want to be there. I want to speak up. I want to share. I want to help. Because if you bring me to a big event, yes, I will be there. But I think introverts like me tend to be, just listening. But I found the live stream platform as a very good way to reach many people without boundaries. And when you get to, I mean, like, for example, you're sharing so many good things today that a lot of people can learn from. And this is something that's so powerful. So when I started live streaming, I didn't know where it will bring me. And I
Mm.
agree with these recognitions and awards just came because of you stand for what you do, you believe in it. So thank you for reminding me about that. And I think, a lot of people think that business is a one time thing, that you're successful overnight, right? But it's really a product of showing up. Maybe, Margo, let's go back to also again taxation. A lot of people think that if I don't understand taxation, nothing will happen to me. In terms of what are these big things that you found from a cost perspective, from maybe the clients that you dealt with, the severe things that happened to them because they failed to understand taxation or they failed to take care of their accounting. What's the worst thing that you saw?
I'm actually going to answer this in a story.
Okay.
So I have a client who came to me and she had about 6 years of back work.
Ma.
She was 6 years of back work. So back work, what that means is it's previous years that was not complete.
Hmm.
And basically, it's just going through time and making money, spending money, and kind of like just hoping, or I'm sure you heard the sentence of like throwing spaghetti against the wall. And she had so much to her, but the cement of the past years, it was the problem.
Oh.
Now, her problem became because there was so much shame
Hmm.
around those mistakes.
Hmm.
And it's actually a common pattern, the shame around it. And it came from an accumulation of, let's just call it what it is, a bad marriage. And because she was vulnerable, she was not healthy to stick up for herself. She got stuck with a lot of debt and she got stuck with not preparing.
Hmm.
So it really was ruining her life. It ruined her relationships. And just one day, they started to levy. Now, when the levy happens, which means it's a way that the government will just force the money out of your bank account,
Uh-huh.
it hits you in a different way because you don't feel the direct benefit at the time and you feel like,
Uh-huh.
I can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But she was still holding all of those years.
Oh. Hmm.
And she was like, oh, the system is going to protect me because I can get a tax resolution specialist.
Hmm.
Now, they're there for a reason, and it's definitely a resource to utilize if it's fit. However, there's
Hmm.
recourse around it that sometimes I tell clients that let's think more and go into the bookkeeping process. So, with this woman, the mistake with her is that she let it run her. And it
Hmm.
goes into being healthy. And even though there's not that direct effect right now, it's the overall story that is running you and happening that will take the toll in a healthy way, in an unhealthy way, and can possibly ruin your relationships. So not only was it tax that was happening, it really had an effect on marriage. And
Hmm.
she even knew, get ready, she even knew her current husband that she remarried to was unfaithful to her.
Oh. Hmm.
So what I can say is that any sort of pain that you're in, it's been there before for somebody else.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's okay, but it's okay to share so that it doesn't have to ruin your life and you could be free of money and tax instead of thinking it's like this Martian that's going to happen or like a
Hmm.
levy one day that will just come out of nowhere. So the mistake is that we let this storyline keep running instead of handling it and being like, okay, let me start to inquire so that because your income that you're making, it's not getting better if you
Yeah.
don't attend to it because
Hmm.
the interest and penalties just accrue faster. So it's useless to make more money.
Exactly. I think, Margo, people thought that they can always, just because the government is not checking on you, they can escape that. But you don't know, majority of the tax law says there's a 20% or higher penalty for failure. And there's interest. Other than the penalty, there's interest that you need to pay, right? So it's really a cost. Plus, I think that money story around taxes affects all areas of the business and all your life, right? Like what you said,
That's
if
what I'm
you're in
saying.
the
Because then you
relationship.
start thinking
Yeah.
like business is a failure, my business isn't working, and all of this stuff. Exactly. But it's a foundation of all of these things, and it's never about
Mm,
the money.
exactly. So this is what I always said to business owners also. What happens in your business is actually relating to your entire life. So you need to look at it from a holistic perspective. My team is saying 15 minutes left, so thank you for the reminder. I think we do have some comments. We want to bring it up. If there's some comments, if you do have questions, please type in the comments. Margo and I have so much stories to share. So the
I
only
do.
problem is the time, right? So Christine said, I agree with Margo because hiring our children is like training them to build their own business empire. Wow, in the future, it's also a way of helping them to see the value of money. Yeah, my children now is like, Mommy, I didn't know that earning money is this difficult, right? But also, when they receive the money, they're very happy. So, thank you for Christine. Do we have any other comments or do we have some questions? We're almost towards the end. Okay, this is a very, very good question, Margo. I
Oh, I
think a
love
lot
this
of
question.
businesses, a lot of people I met and business owners said, I need an investor, I need a loan. A lot of people think that, loan is the best way for them to scale their businesses. What are your thoughts about it? How can you really expand or scale your business through loans?
So usually people want to expand through loans because they have this issue with spending their own money on growth.
Okay.
Now, flip the script on that and say, why won't you spend your own money, but you'll spend on somebody else's?
Hmm.
So, taking from that on the best way to expand, first, you want to have a business plan.
Hmm.
With a business plan, it's going to give you the direction so that wherever the money comes from, there's a direction on how to use the money. So if you remember
Hmm.
the story I was telling you about with
Yeah.
my client where she was like, Margo, you keep telling me to spend money, spending the money towards the purpose, towards the growth, which then brings in all of the tax strategies that it's tax deductible. Now, with that, personal loans can work, an investor can work. That's all a lot of work too. However, business credit is the key. And I'm so psyched to share this. I had one client who was leveraging loans and personal side so much, but it also took a toll on his social. Now,
Oh.
when it takes a toll on social, his whole business is at stake. His personal family is at stake because
Hmm.
everything is into the. So imagine that pressure that he's holding. If you apply for business credit and you get yourself onto that line, you're truly separating business and personal.
Hmm.
Not only that, you're creating an exit strategy for your business because when somebody wants to buy your business, assuming that's the way you want to go in some capacity, that they get the business credit, think about the higher level person and the more stable person that you can get. Now, To bring this all together, I also just want to share a few things. Do more listening in business. Like when you listen to this, there's a lot of value in here today. You may
Hmm.
need to pause it, you may need to listen to it a few times, but do more listening than trying to contradict what I'm
Hmm.
saying so quickly. Because remember, my years of experience is telling you exactly how it is to fast track your growth. Because I can tell you, I've bring multiple thousands of people through these strategies and systems, and it works over and over and over. When you listen more, you use the experts to leverage, and your overall health is not at stake. You're just showing up for who you are. It does become so much easier. That's your free time. That
Hmm.
is your growth without guilt,
Hmm.
and so much more can happen. So the business growth here around loans is, if you do that month-end solution, you're also going to be able to leverage the business credit, separate it,
Hmm.
and nothing is at stake. So look how much now we brought together that exit strategy that you think of like, oh, I'll worry about in 20 and 50 years. No, the work is now. Because I
Yeah.
can tell you, people come to me when they're ready to retire. And again, like I was telling you, people drop from 9 figures down, or
Mm-hmm.
6 figures, whatever it is. This same thing could happen when you're ready to exit because they think someone's going to save them. When we skip steps, we loosen the
Hmm.
system.
That's a good share, Margo. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think, I agree with you. A lot of people don't understand. There's always a difference between a personal loan and a business loan. And it's good to understand what is the difference of this one, because if you do have business credit, then it's on the business. If you want to sell it later, you want to do an exit, and it's carry on, right? Versus having it as your personal loan, then you carry it forever also. So these are very good tips. I want to summarize something today. Today, we spoke about smart tax strategies, how to protect your business from costly penalties. We spoke about the three massive mistakes of businesses, and the way to effectively manage is, of course, to make sure that you plan, you organize, you reconcile your books monthly. Also, Margo shared about tax strategies on hiring your children. I love that tip very much. Hiring your children, have the right business entity registered, of course, invest in your people, and she also shared about making sure that you get that credit right for your business if you want to grow and scale. Now, Margo, thank you so much. I would like you to please tell us, if people want to work with you, how can you help them? What's the best way to reach you?
Absolutely. So I hope you all enjoyed today. If there's any questions, feel free to tag me on this. You can also personally DM me. Um, our website, as it says on this, you can always go to Heartfelt CFO and Tax Services.com. My LinkedIn profile, I would say, ideally is the best, and you can DM me there anytime, and I would be happy to help you. I look forward to helping you, even if you don't want to work and you just have questions and you're not ready. Let's just have a conversation so I can elevate you and give you a direction. There's so many things that we can do to make sure that you're on the right road. I hope you want to work with me, but to get you ready for, let's say, a package, or if there's one off services, we meet you on the entrepreneurial journey wherever you are. I look forward to meeting you. I cannot wait to talk to you. And let us know, or let me know too. Tag me on your gems of what you got today so that I can help you.
Thank you, Margo. So please connect with Margo on LinkedIn. Visit her website too, and on her link tree, I know there are many gifts that you have, that people can learn from. And thank you, Margo, for your generosity. I learned a lot today also, which makes me very excited. And I would like to thank again every person who's watching us live or on replay. My name is Wanda Lintan Kalupig. Also, I would like to thank my backstage team. They're
Yes,
here today, complete. I have Sherry, Christine, Rufa, Cecil, Rina. Thank you. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you do want to share your experience and expertise, please send us a message, because we would love to have you on our show. And Margo, because a lot of people don't understand LinkedIn, so I actually am starting a community. So a
Oh.
community where I will teach them LinkedIn. I will also guest them on my LinkedIn live, and of course, I want to give them the support that they need, because I know a lot of people do LinkedIn one time and they're like, oh, it didn't work. But I'm gonna give them a support for at least 90 days. So if this is something that you need help with, please go to bit-ly get global clients. Thank you again, Margo, for today. We enjoyed having you. We look forward to at least having the next one. I know a lot of people might have questions. So thank you again for those who are watching us live or on replay. I am with Margo and Masri today. She is a multi-awarded CFO tax service consultant. So this is our episode today is called Smart Tax Strategies: How to Protect Your Business from Costly Penalties. If you do have questions, clarifications, message me or Margo. We would love to help you, and I look forward to seeing you on my next live stream. Thank you and God bless you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Margo.
Bye.